How can we hear the voice in our head and how is it produced? Just adding some more in depth to the question, but people who lose their memory also remember the voice of their thought? Or even other people's voices, since we can imitate it in our minds, thinking about you, Morgan Freeman. And a little more, deaf people, how their voice works in their mind. There are so many interesting thoughts about it. Has anyone studied vocal cords while someone is thinking? One day I noticed it's very difficult to think of words that require the lips to connect, like B or P, and when I try to, it makes me feel a little weird. It made me think that inner thought is related to actual talking. Do we have evidence of when man first began using this way of thinking? I remember reading somewhere how there was a time when even the well-educated could only read out loud and at most a whisper. Is there anything supporting that? Can anyone explain how we accurately reproduce pitch after hearing it in, say, a song? As a singer, I've been taught to listen to a pitch, then hear it in my head, then sing it. I'm wondering if the hear it in your head part has any similarities to our internal monologue? Is there any theories about this relating to how the two sides of the brain communicate with each other? Do patients who have their brain hemispheres separated, to control seizures for example, report any change in their inner voice or thought processes? Now can someone tell me how the brain can produce two separate, sometimes three, conversations at once? I often don't notice the third unless I'm looking for it. The first is the obvious, when reading or actively thinking of something, the second is a running commentary on the first, and sometimes the third can be heard. The same way we hear vibrations inside our head as sound. Our brain fires the same neurons it would as if it heard you talking. It's why deaf people don't think with sound. But once someone has heard, their brains can then replicate that internally. It's the same phenomena for sight and how we can visualize things, the same neurons fire when we actually see things. Quote closing square bracket. Yes, for example, I have a relative that would be considered mentally disabled. She speaks aloud all the time. They often thought that she isn't aware that she is speaking. If you ask her if she said something, she will tell you, no. I figured she may be lacking a filter that prevents her from vocalizing her thoughts.